Notice it's important that this is fitness in the precise, hard-bitten evolutionary biology sense of making more offspring. That's all. That's all fitness means in this context. Now, human culture, which is the medium in which this competition goes on, is itself one of the fruits on the tree of life. Let's look for a minute at the tree of life. This is a nice diagram from Science 97. It doesn't look much like a tree from here, but that's because this is a bird's eye view of the tree. You're looking down on the top, and right there in the center we have the root of the tree. That's where Luca is. Oh, what's happened with my rest of my slides? That's very strange. It doesn't work on your machine, Michael. Yeah, too bad. Okay. In that slide there were three, let me go back a few slides. Remind me to run through my slides on the machine next time I do it. You see the three branches of life, the archaea, the bacteria, and the eukarya. Some people would add the viruses now, by the way, as a fourth category. Not quite alive, but sort of alive. And here on the eukarya, we have three species listed out here on the end. It's Coprinus, Homo, and Zea. That's Homo, of course, is us. And the artist has flanked us with two of our nearest relatives on the tree of life. Coprinus, that is to say mushrooms, and Zea, that is to say corn, are cousins, near cousins on the tree of life. But among those species, among the eukarya, there's one species, ours, that has culture in a big way, but there's other species, such as beavers, that make dams, and their dams are artifacts made by mammals, and the Hoover Dam is also an artifact made by a mammal. And there's cultural evolution involved in both cases. But of course, in many ways, the processes are very different. A spider web is an artifact made by an animal, and the World Wide Web, or a power grid, is another artifact made by an animal. And they can be reverse engineered and studied in the same spirit, and brought together under one heading, which is what we need to do. On the left we see a wonderful artifact made by a bird. It's a bird's nest. On the right we see an ode to a nightingale. See a first draft. Same sort of things in some ways. Now, obviously, an ode to a nightingale has not been copied from an earlier ode to a nightingale. That would be plagiarism. But, by the way, when I'm teaching evolutionary theory, I often tell my students that one way of getting at the principle of natural selection is it's the principle of plagiarism. Any design that's worth copying, because R&D is expensive, will be copied and copied and copied and then slightly revised and slightly revised. What plagiarists appreciate is the fundamental underlying insight of Darwinism, namely that design is expensive. But if you can save it and then copy it, then it saves you all that design work, and then you can build on the design work. You don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. That's how evolution works. Even human culture gets underway without any insightful design to prime the pump. Now, I think we're running a little late, so I'm going to rush through a bit of this. In the book, I have a sketch of a theory of the evolution of religion from pre-religion, from our hominid ancestors up through to the present day. And the point of that sketch is not this is the truth, but this is what a theory of religion would look like. Because some people just say, I can't imagine having a scientific theory of religion. I can't imagine how you could get the purchase and have a scientific theory of religion. Well, now they can imagine, because I've given them a sketch of a theory. It's probably not right. Large parts of it I'm sure are right. Large parts of it I'm pretty sure are wrong. I just don't know which. My point is to do what scientists do. You put out a theory and then say, fix it. Correct it, refute it, replace it with a better theory. That's fine. And at least we know what a theory would be. Now, it begins with something that we share with many of our vertebrate cousins, and pretty much all mammals, I guess. And that's what Justin Barrett calls a HAD, or hyperactive agent detection device. if, well, you don't have snow here, but something that we have back in the East is your dog is sort of snoozing on the hearth, and some snow falls off the roof and lands with a thud outside, and the dog is up in a shot and looking around. Grrr. That's the dog's had doing a false alarm. Who's there? Who's there? What do you want? It's supposing there's an agent, something to confront as an agent out there, and it's on hair trigger in all of us for a very good evolutionary reason. In a dog, or a dolphin, or a wolf, or a bear, this orientation response pretty well evaporates after a few seconds. False alarm, back to sleep. But in us, with our echoic brains, with our imaginations, it builds, and it builds, and it repeats. And what started off as just a wild speculation, who's there, who's there? Oh my gosh, did that tree say something? Was it talking? Is that a talking tree? Oh my God, a talking tree. It's a talking tree. Oh my God, a talking tree. A talking tree. Oh my God. Hey, Joe, there's a talking tree. Oh, what a talking tree. And round it goes. And pretty soon, at least a few of you think, gosh, maybe there's a supernatural talking tree out in the woods. Now, most of these ideas are pretty stupid, actually. Well, not surprisingly. They're sort of amplified random noise. But a few of them are more memorable, that is to say, more unforgettable than others. Those are the ones that keep making copies in your brains. But your brains are a limited resource, so pretty soon there's competition, and only the most vivid and memorable and grabby of these ideas is going to hang in there in competition. And what do we find? We find in every tribal culture, we find a population of invisible supernatural agents of all kinds. These are the ones that these people believe in. And how long have they believed in them? Who knows? It's very hard to say. It's an oral culture. Now, that's not religion, that's superstition. But those are the wild ancestors of the organized religions of today. A population of imps, goblins, fairies, gods, leprechauns. They compete for rehearsal space, and some of them win. And what are the winners for? They're for occupying the minds they find themselves in, and that's all. I tell people I'm doing an evolutionary theory of religion, and it's like a reflex. They say, oh yes, evolutionary theory of religion. Well, you know, every human group that's ever been studied has religion, so it must be doing us some good. What's it for? What do you think religion is for? It must be for something, because every society has them. And I say, yeah, and every society that's ever been studied also has the common cold. What's that for? The common cold exists for itself. It exists because it can. And the same is true of the superstitions that are the ancestors of folk religion, of organized religion. They're what I call folk religion. So, how are spoken words and folk songs like squirrels, rats, pigeons, and barn swallows? What do those species all have in common? They're not domesticated, but they are evolved to live in close proximity with human beings. They are elegantly evolved to inhabit the same ecological niche with us, but we haven't domesticated them. We don't own them, we don't take care of them. They're wild, but they're a very interesting subset of wild species that have evolved to live with us. The same thing is true of spoken words. They don't require stewards, they don't require guardians. They have plenty of them. We have grammar scolds and language usage mavens. You know, there's William Safire and all these people that are always telling us what we ought to say and what we ought not to say. But in fact, such people are strictly unnecessary. Languages can get along very well without them. They will